4 bars on 3G. You can. You can yeah. Hang on. Yeah, we're live.
We're live?
Yeah, we're
Already?
live on mine. Yeah.
Okay, going live on yours. Three, two, one.
Hello, everyone.
We're back.
Woohoo!
We didn't have good enough internet down
Yeah.
there. Plus, it was really windy, so now we got a much better spot.
Yep.
And
Better
as you
internet.
can see, Waterfall Lodge.
Yep. Over there. Okay.
Yeah,
There you go.
obviously
beautiful.
some walleye fishing.
Look
or
at this.
bass
Take a
maybe.
look at this amazing God's country right here. This is beautiful. So this is Ontario, and we have seen some epic scenery, and it's a gorgeous day. Too bad we're in the car driving like Jehu's to get
To Marathon.
to Marathon tonight, and
To our mansion.
yeah. Yeah. And then
And
we're
thank you to Sharon. If you ever watch this, Sharon,
no.
you are an absolute peach for putting us up in such a beautiful home.
Yeah, we
a
love
home
you.
away from home, really. It's amazing. So
Very nice.
we look forward to arriving there at sometime around 1 a.m.
Yeah. And then we're gonna drive like the Dickens tomorrow.
Yes, to make it to Winnipeg.
To
Hopefully,
Winnipeg.
to
We might be Art Lucier's event. He's got a massive gathering in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So that's God always moves so powerfully with art. So that's really good. Yeah. And
So
then
we were talking a little bit about Canada today.
yeah. Which was very
Or
hard.
did you
if
want
you
to talk
heard
more
that.
about what's next after Winnipeg?
Oh, well, I was just going to say, yeah, we're heading on to Boston. Where?
To Boston?
I don't know.
Are we going
Where
to
are we
Boston?
going?
Might as well.
Yeah, we're taking it big.
Wow.
Boston bar,
I had
maybe.
no idea. Right.
What am I trying to say?
I think
Where are
you're
we going?
probably trying to say Moose Jaw.
I don't know
I'm
where I
not
got
sure
Boston.
how that equates with Boston at all. But, so yeah, that'll be on the 5th,
Yeah.
and then we'll be in Estevan on the 6th, and then
Yeah.
I finally get to
Davidson?
go home and reacquaint myself with my wife, and then we have
Right.
Davidson on the 10th.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Yannick is going to be so happy to see you, and
Yeah.
my husband, too.
Yes.
Happy to see me.
So yeah, Canada today.
Yeah, it was bad. It was very hard, and I think you all sensed that. So by the end of the day, we had some fiery speeches, but it was very difficult to see, them.
Anyone that was expecting to hear me or Sean speak on Parliament Hill, I sort of apologize, but I just was not about to take part in that. It made me physically ill, actually, to see what they were doing in my country. Running scanners over 2-year-olds, just not my thing. It's so communist, and it sucked the energy out of, like communism does. It just sucks all the life out of everything, and that's exactly how it felt yesterday. So I didn't want to take part. Sean came up with the idea to go swimming at the hotel, so that's what we did, and that was much nicer. We washed off the communism, and it felt much better.
Well, there was a grandma there, and she just started crying. She was just in tears because this is her country, and she's okay, but what about her grandkids? This is not the Canada that most people remember. And the thing is Trudeau and all of the people that are in all of this together, they know that they're screwing everything up, and we're just basically sort of along for the ride. And they're lying. They're deliberately making us angry, and it's very difficult to watch, and you can feel the spirit there. So there was a guy that had water. He wanted to just give out water as the day went on.
Because it's hot and people are thirsty.
Yeah, nice thing to do, Canada Day. And they made him, nope, give out the water now. You have to do it now. Give out the water now. Anybody that kind of had a little table or handing out some brochures or whatever, no, can't get a permit, whatever, right? So it all ended up that the permitted area for having speakers, which this is a protest, some people said. And so let's say BLM shows up to protest something. They won't be getting no permit.
No.
And in Canada, it is legal to protest.
Yes.
We did it all the last 2 years in Vancouver because it's legal. That's part of a democracy, is the ability to be able to speak when you're upset about something.
Right. Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association.
Do you know, 2019, Artur Pavlovsky, trying to say his name right, he was there on the Hill speaking, and I remember he was just giving it, man. He was fantastic, having, of course, no idea what was about to happen in this world. It was pre-COVID, right? And we were still upset, though. Like, there was the rumblings and the feeling that something was wrong in Canada. Let's not forget that, everybody. Like, we've been feeling this is a progression. And then COVID has been used to just amplify their agenda.
Absolutely.
And you did a couple of lives on your, where'd you put that up?
Twitter and TikTok.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of views on that about the upset.
We're sitting around 20,000 on each one. So
people really got it.
Yeah. I mean, but people understand it and they see it. It's happening right in front of our eyes. And there's only a certain amount of us Canadians that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. So
yeah.
I guess we'll have to wait for more to join the party. So yeah, very disheartening. It was, yeah.
It was hard.
It was the worst Canada Day ever, as far as I'm concerned.
It was so difficult. The spirit there was very hard.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yep. Now, when they finally got the speakers set up, like the speaker boxes behind, so they had that in, you know, behind the one fence. Oh, they're 2 feet on this side. You know, you can speak into them. And then we got the microphone, and that got sort of worked out. Tom Marazzo was part of that, and the police agreed to it. I saw the police trying. I also saw that the police are answering to authorities above them, who are answering to authorities above them, who are answering to authorities, who are answering to the globalists. Right. And that's our problem. We the people, it's not about us.
As I was going through that checkpoint to get onto Parliament grounds, I had a F. Trudeau shirt. And the one guy said, "Oh, we got to check out a shirt because, you know, it might say something on it." And the one guy said, "Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this." And the other guy said, "Yeah, they can't have those because," and I said, "Why? Why?" "Well, because you're using profanity." "So what? That's freedom of expression. Hello?" I've heard BLM and Antifa say a whole lot worse than that for years.
Yeah.
And I said to the guy, I said, "You know what? I did what you did for 25 years. I took the same oath you did." "Well, it's not for everybody." It's like, so tyranny is for you then, is what you're saying. But, you know, these people don't think, right? They just do what they're told and they don't use any critical thought to actually understand what it is that they're doing. They were literally wanding toddlers with a smile on their face.
Trying to make it fun, I guess.
Yeah, well, normalizing it. Right?
Yeah, a security check.
It's normalizing this control.
What was interesting to me is so many people, right? So many people were, you know, once inside. I talked to them, and they actually think it's good. I like to be safe, and I asked them, like, safe from what?
Right.
What are we all doing this for? And I asked the officers there, like, is there a reason? Like, do you know something we don't? Why all this security in our great land with peaceful people?
So I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but it was an observed reality of mine. Most of the people standing in line were brown people from other nations, and they're coming from nations where that's the norm. So they can accept that. Whereas you saw most of the other people on Wellington were homegrown Canadians that weren't exposing themselves to this nonsense.
Right.
And this is part of what's being done. It's this mass migration, mass immigration that's going to change the total fabric of our nation, with people that are coming from nations where they accept dictatorship, they accept this tyranny. And so you can see it. It's plain as day.
And essentially they're being used.
Of course they're being
to create that division, you know.
Well, imagine, like, okay, so my parents have passed away, but my mom, true homegrown Canadian, I mean, to go there, that would be really odd. It would be like,
Right.
Why are we getting checked to walk up to our parliament and take a picture on Canada Day?
Right.
Y'all lost your ever-loving minds?
Mm.
Like, it felt bad. The greatest part was I enjoyed being at Strathcona Park earlier in the day. There was a few protesters there, but you did a great speech. Maxime Bernier did a great speech. I spoke. And then
And
later,
it was a good speech.
it was a great speech.
It was a great speech.
Yeah.
And Sean Taylor's was a great speech,
Yeah.
as per normal.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And that was neat. And we gathered with the people. We felt it was beautiful. And then,
Well, it's a beautiful thing when there's a whole bunch of people that gathering that share the same
Yeah.
values and want the same way of life that we've always had and want the freedom that we've always had. See, this is what really pisses me. I'm sorry, I'm swearing on Laura-Lynn's live. Really upsets me is, all of these security measures are in place because, and it's out of spite, what the convoy was trying to do and reestablish our freedoms, stand up for our freedoms, defend our freedoms, and the values that we all claim to cherish. Somehow that's a bad thing. Somehow there's liberals on my Twitter right now trolling me saying that it was because of that convoy that now we have to accept this situation. No, we don't. No, we absolutely do not. And so it's just really frustrating and really angering to see that.
I do.
And people accepting it. It's just
100%.
Yeah.
And I thought that something Pat King said. So Mark and I were listening to Art Pavlovsky's interview with Pat King. And he's found Jesus, and we pray that that will be a wonderful thing in his life. But one of the things he said, which was very true, Mark, is when we were there with Freedom Convoy 2022 in Ottawa, they were listening to where the police wanted them to be.
Right.
So that they weren't blocking.
Right.
We were there to say, we're here. We would like things changed. Take down those walls, Mr. Trudeau. Right?
And when they told them to stop blowing their horns,
they did.
They complied.
Absolutely. And that was actually sad because those shofar horns of the truckers were amazing. Right. Amazing. And they were mostly respectful. I remember a couple times, maybe, late in the night, but we were there like 4 weeks. 3 good weeks, I guess. And they were, the truckers, everyone was trying to be so respectful. And then the cops would tell them where they could put the trucks. They totally did. So Trudeau, he ixnayed all of that. He would not meet with them. He would not hear of it. No, because he wants what? Vaccinate, vaccinate, vaccinate. If you're a woman, you're in charge of your body. Unless you should be getting a vaccine, in which case we're in charge of your body. Like, that's the country we live in. They are lying. They know they're lying. They know that we know that they are lying. And this is the reality.
And yet they still lie.
And yet they still lie. And here we are. And I think the hardest part, Mark, is this is headed towards a destination, and most people don't get it yet. So for us who get it, we see it, it's progressing. What's going to happen in the fall, everybody? Like, when the seventh wave, the Dr. Teresa Tam seventh wave comes, and hey, let's face it, there is evidence now coming out about these vaccines that are literally making this worse. So they're trying to say it's the unvaccinated, but it's actually the vaccines that are working. Right. Anyone who's an expert in all of this stuff knows we got a problem, because it's kind of like when you overuse, you take a, you have an infection, so you take a
antibiotic.
Yeah. So when you take an antibiotic, you can overuse antibiotics to the point where they don't work anymore.
Where they don't work anymore. Right.
So then you got a problem, don't you? So there's a problem brewing with what we've done with the vaccinations.
Well, it's gene therapy. And it's suffocating immune systems. It's killing immune systems. And so people are going to be exposed to these variants, or they're going to be exposed to monkeypox, or exposed to whatever they're exposed to.
Right.
And they won't have an immune system to look after it. Sean made a point the other day that or was it you? Somebody made the point that I climbed a really big mountain to achieve my immunity to COVID, but I did it, and so I trust that 100 times more than I would trust some experimental mRNA gene therapy that's proving now to kill people.
And you can get a blood test that will show that you have perfect immunity,
Right.
but that will not be good enough. The science of that will not be good enough for our Prime Minister, who has already invested in 10 vaccines per person.
And I hate to break it to you, but it won't be good enough for Pierre Poilievre either. We already seen that it's been proven they're not going to stand up to this. They're not going to be the opposition to it. They're going to sit back and keep their mouth shut because Pierre needs to get elected next time around. And nobody leads from the front in this country. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that looks so fun. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, you missed a little kid in front of that there. That's adorable. I agree. So we've got a problem in the country that who's really going to stand up? All of the conservatives pretty much got vaccinated, or they harassed the ones who didn't. That's the reality.
It is.
They're vaccinators. So if we're like, no, it should be freedom. Who was really standing up for that? I heard about the behind the scenes nonsense going on in the House when, even the conservatives, they didn't want the unvaccinated to be in there.
Right.
That's the truth. So if you stand for freedom, and maybe you've had your 2 vaccinations, like I've recently been speaking with some friends, because they didn't study or look into it, but now they have, so they're done. Like that was it. Thank God we survived that.
But isn't it nice that there is a party where there's a leader who actually stands up to this, who actually tells the truth? Even Maxime Bernier is coming out against the vaccines now because he sees the reality. It's observed reality. It's science. And I just spoke with him yesterday in regards to that. And he was clearly, he sees the problem. He sees what's happening.
That.
And so
he understands what's happening.
He gets it. He understands.
Appreciate that.
And he tells the truth. So he's the only one. And I've always said, in all these town halls that we do, none of us actually promoted the PPC in any of our speeches.
Right. It wasn't about that.
It's not about that. It's about information. But the thing of it is, once people have the information, they understand what this all is, the default becomes the PPC.
Yeah.
Because there is no other option. That's it. So, by default. But that's only in relation to if we're going to solve this enormous challenge politically, or are we going to solve it, with community and with local community. And the antidote to globalism is hyper decentralization, because globalism is hyper centralization. The antidote is understand beef producers are the chicken producers, the milk producers, all of these folks. Develop your networks, develop the builders, the creators, come together, build your community, because that's the antidote to all of this. And we have to start getting in the frame of mind that we aren't supposed to be governed under tyranny. We absolutely are not. We're human beings. We're supposed to determine our own destinies, and that's what being local and developing community is going to do. It's going to reestablish that.
Start canning your eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that?
Canning
everything. Make sure you've got some good food for the coming whatever. Apparently, we heard something about gas running out in Kelowna.
Yeah, somebody had mentioned that some of the gas stations in Kelowna are
Anybody
empty.
in Kelowna, is that true? Like, are you seeing a problem not having any gas? Is that what they're going to do? We're not going to be able to drive anywhere?
They're running out of DEF fluid for diesels.
Right.
So I may not be able to drive my truck in the near future.
Store up on your DEF.
Because somehow all these things we were able to do for decades, all of a sudden now we can't do it. It's like go to an airport. We used to be able to run airports like nobody's business, and now all of a sudden you can't get anywhere.
So Sean goes to the airport today, right?
Yeah, Sean went to the airport today. I think he was supposed to fly out at 11.
Yeah.
And he texted at 5 to 4 that he's just leaving at 5 to 4 because nobody knows how to operate an airport anymore. It's amazing.
You've been doing it for so long.
Right.
One of my favorite moments, though, I just want to say, I brought up Chief Kenny Blacksmith. He's an amazing man, a man of God. He's First Nations, and he wrote on his wall yesterday scriptures, and I read those out at the end of the day on Parliament Hill there, and that was so comforting. You know, God's in full control. Let your anxiety go and all of that, but do not become complacent. When you have peace that passes all understanding, that should never allow you to just sink into an abyss of doing nothing.
I don't think God wants you doing nothing.
Right, right. Because
I think God gave you gifts.
yes,
To
he did.
use in times like these.
Yes,
I think he did.
He says, expose the evil works of darkness. And that's what you're doing,
Hey,
and I'm doing
absolutely.
at all of these events. And now people are phoning us, can you come here? Can you come there?
Right.
And we'd love to. We'll try to fit it in. You better get
Yeah,
more deaf.
it's blowing up.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I better stock up on some deaf, I guess.
you better. Yeah, it's blowing up. And then we also, like I got
Because it's blowing up, sorry to interrupt, but
Yep.
it's blowing up because people are thirsty for the truth. They're starving for the truth because they've been lied to for decades.
right.
Right? We're in this mess because nobody ever
not
told
lying.
the truth and nobody could
We're
oppose
telling
what was
the truth,
coming.
all of it.
And they love to hear the truth, and they love to hear that it's a spiritual good versus evil.
Yes, the ultimate
And so
battle.
Laura does that, and then Sean comes in and hammers everybody with some common sense, which is phenomenal.
It is phenomenal.
It is.
Yeah. But your part telling the truth, how this all got started and everything, that that is heavy.
It's
heavy. It's like you kind of wake up and go, oh my gosh, all these things have been colluding to destroy me
Yes.
and to depopulate me.
Yes.
And it's real. And they're saying it out loud. And it's getting so real that
watching it.
we're not hiding it anymore.
It doesn't stop it, of course, because then you still have the Democrat states that still like to kill babies.
Yeah.
But, at least we're moving in the right direction.
And our country,
God.
which is going to welcome the
Americans.
abortions to
Yeah.
come, because
Come on
my
up.
body, my choice.
Mm.
So are the unvaccinated? Can some really smart reporter out there, hey, maybe Vashi and
Make
CBC?
the connection.
Yeah, you want to ask that question?
Mm.
That'll be interesting, won't it?
Yeah.
My body, my choice. Well, yeah, she does have a right to her own body, but
Well, as it turns out, the most effective abortion these days is the mRNA.
right. Yes, because
Seems to
there's
be
been a
working
lot
really
of
good.
yes,
Yeah.
a lot of
So, kill two birds with one stone.
pregnancy miscarriages.
Get your
because of
boosters
it.
if you're pregnant and don't want the baby.
Yeah.
That's essentially what's happening.
Mm-hmm. And it's sad, but we're out there telling the truth.
Yeah.
And we love you. We know God's in control. We all know when God, the word says that God deposes kings and promotes kings, right? So when Trudeau's time is done, he'll be done and God will deal with him. But I'm just wondering if God's dealing with our nation.
Yeah, well, I think Trudeau is in place for a reason. And I was telling the girls on the trip today, the first speech I ever gave in relation to any of this was the first Yellow Vest event we had in Saskatoon. And the first thing I said to open my speech was, I have to thank Trudeau for waking people up. Mm-hmm. It's a fact. He's in place, and what he's doing is waking people up. And,
that is a good thing.
So
actually.
It's reality. And God has kings in place for certain.
How come I'm wearing plaid? You're not.
Yeah, that's
What's
a good
happened?
question. That's a good question. But I'm wearing 1776.
Yeah.
That's not to encourage any of violence necessarily.
There was a few comments
But a
about
little
your shirts.
subliminal, maybe.
Really?
Maybe a little
Yeah.
subliminal.
There was a lot of comments about purpose as well. You guys talked about politics a little bit and purpose and faith. And I think
Amen.
you covered it amazingly. Community,
Yes.
prepare,
Yes.
faith,
Prepare. Do
and
prepare. I
and
think
pick
it's
the right
important
person
to
to vote
know
for.
what God's telling you to do, right? What is God telling you specifically to do? Protect anything that you need to protect, save up, prepare for a day, just like the 5 wise virgins in the parable that Jesus told. Prepare, 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 and be more prepared than your neighbor, because you'll probably have to help them. Because why?
And expose
because
the evil.
they didn't prepare.
And expose the evil.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the more the evil is exposed, the more people we have on our side.
Yes. Tell the truth.
Yep.
Shame
Amen.
the devil. All right, guys.
We got to hit the road.
Love ya.
Like,
We
seriously.
okay, we got a long way to go.
We got,
All right.
yeah.
Men in black.
We'll be in marathon
Men
tonight.
in plaid.
One more tour around.
Yeah. All right.
Men in
Okay,
plaid.
here I'll do this. Say goodbye, everybody. We sure do love ya. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful.